of the puzzle. All right, so let's break down these three things: planned value, earned value, and actual cost. I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. All right, so there is a project that Phil has. Phil is going to walk from here. This is Phil. He's going to walk from here to his friend Travis over here. All right? Now, Phil, as the project manager, needs to assign a budget to the project. Phil can also assign some sort of timeline, right, to the project. So he could say, it's going to take me 1 hour to get here, another hour to get here, another hour, and 1 more hour. So Phil's project is going to take a total of how many hours? 4 hours. Phil also needs to put some budget across the entire project. The best way to do it, by the way, is a time-phased budget. So he needs to assign monies to each of these. So let's say $10 for each of these segments. How much total is Phil's project going to cost? 40. 10, 20, 30, 40. Sorry if my writing threw you off. But you agree, if it's 10, 10, 10, 10, that's going to be a total of 40, like you said. That 40 is known as the BAC, the budget at completion. That is the BAC. All right? Now, these 10s are for each time period. $10 for the first hour. So if you're thinking in a cumulative fashion, this is going to be hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, and by the time he gets to hour 4, he's going to be done. Now, these $10 chunks are your promise to management. Your promise is, oh, I'm going to get done with this chunk in 1 hour, and it's going to cost $10. So this could be looked at as your budget for a particular phase or segment of your project. You could look at it as a time box. In other words, you do not expect Phil to spend more than $10 for this time box. This $10 is known as your planned value. So your planned value for period 1, 2, 3, and 4, they are all $10. Now on some projects you could have planned value changing. You could have $10 here, $20 here, $30 here, but I've made it a simple project. So in this simple project, I'm saying the planned value is all of these $10 pieces for the different time periods. But planned value is not for your entire project, theoretically. It's for a segment of your project. So planned value is also known as the budgeted cost, and this is very important, I want to write it down, budgeted cost of work scheduled. See, this is your budgeted cost of work scheduled for a particular time period, for this time period, for this time period, and so on. So that is your PV. In this case, PV for the first period is 10. For the second period is also 10.
PV, for example, for point 2 is not the cumulative of the previous one, so 10 plus 10, 20?
So in that case, you have to call it cumulative planned value, because there's a difference between planned value for any of these time periods versus cumulative. For example, you could say PV for time period 1 is equal to $10. You could say PV for time period 1 and 2 is equal to $20. You could say PV for period 1 plus 2 plus 3, or however you want to mark it, is $30. So what am I saying? Planned value is for specific time periods, And it's very important that you clarify if it is cumulative or not, right? And the question will be very clear to tell you. Your project manager, in hour 1, your planned value is $10. Or you could say, your project manager at point 2, your cumulative planned value is $20. Or you could say, from inception to date, your planned value is $20, depending on where you are. So I'm glad you brought that up early. It's very important that we orient ourselves with where we are in planned value. Are we talking about time period, or are we talking about inception to date, or things like that? All right. So now you understand BAC, and now you understand planned value. Let's take it up a level, and let's talk about actuals. Earned value is all about actuals. So Phil starts his project. He begins walking towards his buddy Travis, and then he gets to the midpoint. Phil is at the midpoint here. Now, when Phil gets to the midpoint, my question to you is, what is the value of what Phil has accomplished by getting to the midpoint? What is the value? What is the price tag you can put on Phil's accomplished work? $20, very good. Even if Phil says, oh, I didn't know my project was going to have issues, I've spent $50, it's not worth $50. It is still worth the original amount of the price tag you put on it. And that's why I say planned value is a promise. If you said you'll get it done with that money, you better get it done with that money. Okay? Now, if for any reason Phil goes over, we don't care. The earned value is still what you've accomplished. So this next metric of EV, we can say that EV, earned value, is the budgeted cost of work performed. Very good, performed. It's what you did. It's not what you promised. Planned value is what you promised. Earned value is what you did. Okay? Promised, performed. Okay? Or scheduled, performed. Now the last piece, actual cost, you probably figured out, is how much you spent. So in this example, Phil got to this point. Well, let me throw another dimension in. Phil got to this point and he'd spent too much on drinks, and he'd spent too much on food, for example. So instead of Phil keeping to the original plan, the planned value, to spend $20 to get $20, let's say he ends up spending $30. That $30 he spent is your actual cost. So actual cost, AC, is known as the actual cost of work performed. Actual cost of work performed. All right. Now, in government space, just so you know, they refer to these as variants from time to time. PV is known as budgeted cost of work scheduled, BCWS. Earned value is referred to as budgeted cost of work performed, BCWP. And actual cost is referred to as ACWP. So if you ever see these weird 4-letter acronyms, that's what they mean, okay? Budgeted cost of work scheduled, budgeted cost of work performed, actual cost of work performed. All right? Now, let's solve a problem based on our little illustration here. So, from inception to date, Phil should have spent $20. Instead, he spent $30. But, is Phil on schedule at the end of day 2? He's gotten here at the end of day 2. So he is on schedule. That is where he targeted to get to on day 2. So if we go to a new sheet over here, and we solve a problem using the metrics we have, we know that our planned value, we could say cumulative, or I prefer referring to it showing the time period. I could say 1 and 2, right? Our planned value for that time period should be $20. Take a look at it again. Because we're here, so our plan was to spend 20, right? So our PV is 20. Our earned value is what? How much has Phil accomplished? What's the value? 20, very good. And of course, it's for the same time period, or cumulative. And then our actual cost, we said, was how much? 30, very good. So now we can begin to apply certain formulas. I'm going to put the formulas here so that throughout my covering of this chapter, you guys can refer to this before we do the quizzes. So in the world of earned value, there are 4 derivative metrics we need to talk about. All right? Should probably bring this here so that we don't lose this. All right. So I'm going to show you these derivative metrics really quick. So the bottom line is, so far we've got 3 of these metrics. But we need to use these 3 metrics to create 4 derivative metrics. We have, let's see, SPI, we have CPI, we have SV, and we have CV. And these are indices. So schedule performance index, cost performance index. Schedule variance, cost variance. Now, for each of these, there is one underlying principle you need to remember. I'm going to give you something to remember this. You'll never forget this ridiculous picture. Earned value is a character. It's got big eyes. And on a good day, it's got a toothy grin and a big head. But here's the thing about earned value. Earned value is king. It has a crown on its head. Earned value is royalty. Don't forget. Earned value is king. Why am I showing you this ridiculous picture? Because I want you to never forget to always put earned value first in every single one of these. So earned value is king and always first. Don't forget it. Just remember my dumb picture. Now, as far as the operator here, for indices, what does it mean you're doing? Are you adding when you say Bloomberg index or whatever index you're talking about? Do you add? Do you multiply? What do you do for indices? What's the math function? Index. Is it multiplication? Is it subtraction? Division. Thank you. So where you have the eyes, just remember, oh, it's division. Now this is a variance. So schedule performance index, schedule variance. Schedule, schedule. Cost, cost. You see? So where we've got the variances, what math operator would we probably be using? Good. Subtraction. You guys already do that stuff. We're already halfway there. That wasn't trouble. It was easy. Now we just need to fill in the last part. Now this is the clue. We have PV, we have EV, we have AC. All right? We've already used EV, but we've got cost and cost. Which one do you think we're going to put here? AC, exactly, because it has the word cost in it. You put your AC there, and you put your AC there. Almost done with all the formulas. You only have one more option. It can't be anything else other than planned value. But I always tell my students, think about it. The schedule is the plan. The plan is the schedule. Where you've got schedule, you need to put the plan. So we've only got PV left. And that is how you get your 4 derivative metrics. As easy as that. Now, using these metrics, I would like you guys to solve the problem of finding out what the schedule performance is using these, what the cost performance is, and also the schedule variance and cost variance. Can you do that really quick? So I'm looking for 4 things using this scenario, and of course this is 1 and 2 as well. So I'm looking for your SPI, your SV, your CPI, and your CV. Maybe we'll do it together. So taking a look at that and this, can anyone shout out what the SPI should be? What divided by what?
20 divided by 20.
20 divided by 20. Okay, good. And that gives us 1. What does this tell you?
You're on schedule.
You're on schedule, exactly. If your SPI is 1, you are right on schedule. You're not ahead, but you're right on schedule. Good. Now, a trick to use if you're in crunch time for any of these, your SPI numbers are exactly the same as your SV numbers, because the only difference is this becomes a minus sign. So it's 20 minus 20. As easy as that. 20 minus 20. And that equals to 0. But don't forget, there's a dollar sign. This does not have a dollar sign, but because that's a variance, it does have a dollar sign. So what does it mean if schedule variance is equal to 0? It means there is no work to catch up on. It means that we are on schedule with our work. There's no work lagging behind. Okay? If our schedule variance was a positive number, that would have meant we are ahead of schedule. If our schedule variance is a negative number, it means we're behind. And I'm going to show you more about that later on. All right. Now, what about the CPI? What do we have for that?
20 divided by 30.
20 divided by 30. And that gives us
0.33.
0.66666666. Okay. Now just subtract for this 20 minus 30 and you get what? Minus, thank you. Minus 10 what? Good. Don't forget the dollar sign, because you know what they'll do on the exam? They'll give you A, $10, B, minus $10, C, 10, D, minus 10. It has a dollar sign. Very good. So you guys have just solved your first set of, well, most of you, your earned value problem. So what does this mean? CPI of 0.667 means what? What does it mean? You're overspending. Very good. In terms of dollars, it means you're spending $1 and you're only getting 66 or 67 cents of work if you roll it up. This means you are $10 over budget. Now, the exam could ask you, you're a project manager on a project, your management asks you for certain metrics. Which metric is the best metric to report on your cost performance? Is it this or is it this? And the answer is, what do you think? Should I tell you why it's not this? It's not this. It's not this because guess what? Phil is working on a project. His buddy Travis is working on a project. Phil has a minus $10 variance. So does Travis. Travis's project is in the millions. Phil's project is in the hundreds. So how can you tell performance by looking at variance in both projects? Variance is the same, but one project is bigger than the other, you see. So the best option is this. On the exam, if they ask you which metric best describes your cost performance, and they give you all of these, it's this. If they ask you which metric best describes schedule performance, it's this. All right, so let's take it a step further. And let me give you one more scenario. And I'm going to ask you guys to solve this using those metrics. And some of you watched the video, so you probably know where I'm going with this. Let's say you're a project manager on a project to paint a wall. You decide to break it down into 4 quadrants and you tell management, I'm going to get it done in 4 days. This is going to be day 1. This is going to be day 2. This will be day 3. And this will be day 4. Management says, okay, it's going to cost us $10 here. Let's put K dollars. It's a huge wall. $10 here, $10K. All right. What is the BAC, the budget at completion for this project? Huh?
40K.
40K, thank you. 40K, good. All right. Now, let me give you a scenario. I'll give you various scenarios and I'll tell you to calculate a few things. What is the planned value for day 1? 10, good. Now, if someone tells you that the work accomplished on day 1 was the shaded area, just the shaded area for day 1, what is your earned value?
2.5.
Earned value is what? 2.5K. What's missing? $. Thank you. 2.5K dollars. Good. Now, let me throw in actual cost and I'll ask you to calculate. Actual cost for day 1, you spend all the money, 10K. You guys work out individually SPI, CPI, CV, and SV. Okay? Can you work that out and just tell me what you get and what it means? And I'll come around and peep over your shoulder and look for what it means in your perspective.
Mike texted me back. He said he has M-Shaw refresher tomorrow. He can come anytime today after 10 or anytime Friday.
Okay.
Do you want Friday morning or what?
The sooner the better. Let him come put the fear of PMP into us. Let him come today. Like,
Okay.
10? After 10?
Anytime after 10? Like, do you have a specific
So
time?
Austin's coming at 2:30?
He'll be here by 1. He might be here earlier.
Okay. Yeah, let him come soon. The sooner the better. let him come speak to us for about 30 minutes. We won't keep him that long, you know. Then he can chill for lunch if he wants.